Hello everyone, this is Miss Siddiqui here. In this video we will talk about Shakespearean language and drama terms. Let's get started. So we will be studying the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet. So before we get started with the Shakespearean language and drama terms, make sure you have copied the DEN template on Moodle into your DEN to take notes on the video and the terms. So our first term is prologue, and prologue is basically a short speech before the play that's spoken directly to the audience that gives you details and plot and kind of a preview of what's going to take place. So you might be more familiar with Star Wars than Shakespeare. So each Star Wars movie has a prologue which kind of recaps what's been happening before and what is going to take place. So if you want a modern parallel, that's a great movie that has a prologue. Our next term is comic relief, and this usually occurs in tragedies because Shakespeare wrote tragedies and comedies, but within his tragedies, he wanted to have elements of comedy that were intended to kind of relieve the dramatic tension or to heighten the emotional and dramatic attention by means of contrast. And so the character in Romeo and Juliet that provides comic relief is Romeo's best friend, Mercutio. And so Mercutio's speeches and antics provide a humorous interlude to all the sort of deep romance and violence that occurs in the play. Next term is chorus, and so the chorus is basically a group of characters who comment on what's happening in the play without actually participating in it. So you'll have noticed that the prologue is spoken by the chorus because they're talking about what's going to happen and they're speaking to you, but they're not the actors in the play that don't interact with you. So each play has a chorus. Stage directions are something that you'll come across when you're reading the text of Romeo and Juliet, and stage directions are pretty much what they sound like. They're the playwright's descriptive or interpretive comments that provide readers of the play and directors of the play with information about kind of the setting and the action and how dialogue is to be delivered. And Shakespeare was really pretty minimalist in stage directions, which allowed for a lot of directorial interpretation in the different versions of Romeo and Juliet that have emerged. So the next term is quatrain, and quatrain is a language term, and that refers to a 4-line stanza in a poem, usually with alternate rhymes like A-B, A-B. And so Shakespearean sonnets contain 3 quatrains followed by a couplet. So this is from Sonnet 116. So this is a quatrain, and this is a quatrain. So a meter is the measured pattern of rhythmic accents in a line. So an unaccented syllable is designated like this. An accented syllable is designated like this. A break between poetic feet is designated with a slash, and then the pause is designated by 2 double lines. So pay attention to the guidelines for accenting and pausing when you are reading Shakespearean sonnets and Shakespearean language. So we will refer to, when we talk about sonnets, we will talk about stressed and unstressed syllables. So an I am is an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed one, as in today. An iambic foot is represented by this symbol and the slash. So that is an unaccented syllable followed by an accented one. Try to remember those symbols, that unaccented goes with a U for unaccented, and slash goes with accented, like this is where the sound comes. So iambic pentameter is a common meter in poetry that Shakespeare uses, which is a line that contains 5 iambs. So penta, the root, means 5. So iambic pentameter is a beat that resembles the human heartbeat that goes da-dum, 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 da-dum. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? That's a very famous line from the play, and that follows iambic pentameter. So just try to, when you're reading, try to follow this da-dum, 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 da-dum rhythmic way of speaking, and then you'll kind of catch on to this iambic pentameter that's happening within all of the lines. The next term is couplet, which are 2 lines of iambic pentameter that rhyme, usually to end a scene. So a couplet kind of rounds off the scene. So right here we've got a couplet, so it's going to follow iambic pentameter for both lines. So the first line is, my lines in the show are smart and unique. So that's 1 line of iambic pentameter. And then here's the second line, rhyming couplets are all that I speak. So notice how they both follow iambic pentameter and they rhyme with the last word. So this is a couplet because it's 2 lines of iambic pentameter that rhyme. So this should sound like, my lines in the show are smart and unique. Rhyming couplets are all that I speak. We are going to look at Shakespearean sonnets, and the prologue, which you read yesterday, is a sonnet. So a sonnet is a 14-line poem with a highly structured rhythm and rhyme scheme. So there are many different types of sonnets, and the Shakespearean sonnet follows a specific rhyme scheme, which is A, B, meaning A rhymes with A, B rhymes with B, then followed by CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. So that's 3 quatrains and 1 couplet. So here's an example of a sonnet that starts with, my mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. So you can tell that line is iambic pentameter, and every line after that is iambic pentameter. And then you can see it follows the rhyme scheme AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. So when we read Shakespearean sonnets, I want you to pay attention to those couple of elements, that it's 14 lines, it's got this particular rhyme scheme, and it follows this iambic pentameter of unstressed and stressed syllables. The next term is blank verse, which is a language term, and blank verse is basically poetry that with a rhythm pattern, but it has no rhyme scheme. So blank verse is typically unrhymed iambic pentameter. And so that's something to know in contrast to rhymed iambic pentameter. The next term is a drama term, which is dramatic monologue. And a monologue, right, mono means 1. So monologue refers to a type of long speech in which one speaker addresses a silent listener or listeners. So there are characters in the play Romeo and Juliet who give monologues, and I'm going to ask you to identify which speeches are monologues. The next word is oxymoron, and this is something I love about Shakespeare. He's so clever and witty with his language, so sometimes he uses oxymorons, and oxymorons are a language term. And basically oxymoron is when you put 2 opposites next to each other for a poetic effect. Like you might say bright darkness or slow lightning for a poetic effect. But oxymorons, kind of some simple examples to help you remember what the term means, are bad luck, jumbo shrimp, still moving. Notice how those 2 words are opposites, but you do still know what they convey, even though the language itself is opposites. The next term is a drama term, which is motif, which is a recurring object, concept, or structure in a piece of literature. So a repeated symbol or image which helps to develop the themes or the messages or the lessons or the social commentary. So you'll look for recurring motifs in the play to help you figure out what lesson was Shakespeare trying to teach us in this tragedy. The next word is pun, which you might already know. So a pun is basically a play on words, usually for comic effect. So for instance, this is a picture of a pun, right? It says, our base is under attack, right? So it's literally under a physical attack. But the play on words is that you might think it's under attack, like an army base would be under attack from another army. So this is a play on words, very simple one. And Shakespeare's are a little more subtle and sometimes involve some adult humor. So be watchful for that, and you can really enjoy the play more. Shakespeare also includes foils, so that's another drama term. And foils are two characters who compare or parallel or contrast with each other. So these characters have very different qualities and interact with each other for the purpose of emphasizing their differences. So a really common, pop culture foil would be Harry and Voldemort from Harry Potter, right? They both have similarities, like they both speak Parseltongue. They're both very powerful, famous wizards, but then they have this huge contrast because Voldemort represents pure evil and Harry represents courage, but they do have some overlaps to kind of highlight features in the other person. An aside is a drama term, and so an aside is basically a remark made quietly so as to be heard by a select group of people. Asides can often be sort of sarcastic or convey worry. So in Shakespeare's plays, the characters often make asides to the audience, so kind of breaking that fourth wall. A soliloquy are lines spoken by one character on stage, and these lines are not meant to be heard by anyone. It's basically a way to communicate a character's inner thoughts. So it's different than a monologue, because a monologue is meant to be heard by one listener or listeners, but a soliloquy is more of a thinking out loud. So a really famous example from Shakespeare is Hamlet's to be or not to be soliloquy. And there are some soliloquies in Romeo and Juliet that I also want you to be watchful for. So think of soliloquy as the character articulating their internal conflicts. The next word is antithesis, which is a rhetorical device where, kind of similar to foils, except instead of people, it's like objects or ideas or concepts that are placed next to each other to create a sharp contrast, again to create emphasis and highlight the qualities in each by contrast. So here we've got this like bright blue calm sky, and then we've got this kind of orange fire-like sky. And if we just had one, we might not focus on the details of it as much without this contrast of both. So putting two items next to each other that are opposites end up highlighting both features more than if you just had one standing alone. So that's called antithesis. The next drama term is apostrophe, and an apostrophe is when a character makes kind of a comment to nothing. They like speak and turn away. It's similar to an aside, but it's not to the audience, it's to something absent or dead or ghost-like or non-human or fate. So, for instance, Romeo says, I am fortune's fool, right? He's kind of speaking out loud to, some higher being that controls the fate of the world. So an apostrophe is similar to a soliloquy and similar to an aside, but has a little bit of a nuance difference. The next term is pathetic fallacy, and a pathetic fallacy is the use of nature to reflect emotions. So it's basically a literary term for attributing human emotion and conduct to all aspects within nature. So it's like personification, like for instance, when clouds seem sullen, when leaves dance, or for instance in this picture, grumpy clouds. So that brings us to the end of the Shakespearean language and drama terms video. Make sure that you have all of the terms copied into your den. Go back in the video if you need to, and thanks for watching.